and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the temple of God.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said $3,000 is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth.
Open Conversation. This is the network's flagship political platform through quick trending political news, events and stories discussed with stakeholders. Through these conversations, ATN uses political talks about specific issues, party system and actors to explore hope and engender positive impact to the society. So today on Open Conversation, we're starting from Rivers State. Rivers State, we warned against Wike's third-term ambition. This is coming from APC. And still on Rivers State, we have there can be only one governor at a time. This is coming from Magnus Abbey. And still on Rivers State, we have Wike is mastermind behind plot to impeach Governor Fubara. This is coming from Clark. Going straight to Ondo State, we have Speaker vows to continue impeachment of Deputy Governor Aida Tiwa. And on Nation Building, we have Atiku speaks on outcome of Supreme Court judgment. Still on politics, we have Damagum charges PDP to start preparation for 2027 now. And our guest this morning is no other but Professor Lekia Gema. He is a compliance expert. And we go on a short break. When we're back, we'll introduce him and we'll dive straight to all of our conversations. Stay tuned.
The oppressors and the oppressed.
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the temple of God.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said $3,000 is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth. The oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the taunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the temple of God.
Give us access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said $3,000 is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth. The oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the taunting. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
On the point of order.
Honorable
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the Temple of God.
Access to our money we put in the bank.
POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites, which I am.
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the Tonte. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
And welcome back to ATN Open Conversation. Let's begin with all the open issues in Nigeria politics today. But first, let's welcome Professor Lekia Gimag to have you on ATN Open Conversation.
It's my pleasure.
Welcome,
Good morning.
Prof, why are you smiling so seriously?
Just be happy.
Are you sure there's nothing else behind it?
Well, there are even good reasons to be happy, so I'm happy.
All right, let's get into Rivers State. There are a lot of fireworks falling out from all corners in this state. Well, the All Progressive Congress in Rivers State condemns in very strong terms the destruction of public assets at the State House of Assembly complex. The opposition party in the state described the development as desecration of the legislature. The APC, in a statement signed by the party spokesperson Darlington Muju, said, "We had warned the Rivers people of the third-term ambition of the immediate past governor Nyesom Wike and the unpatriotic agenda to continue to emasculate the state and keep our people perpetually in poverty with the consolidation of a convoluted economy powered by mercantile distribution of state resources." Let's talk about third-term agenda, third-term ambition, if you may. You know, the interesting thing about all of this is if you look back at the history of third term, It wasn't something like this. It was a Obasanjo tenure elongation and or in 2007 and all of that and played out. But would you or the APC in Rivers State say Wike, through his prodigy, the now governor of Rivers State, was aiming at short-term ambition and its impacts? I'd like to bring you here to help us dissect this better.
Okay, well, first, our constitution, the Nigerian constitution, does not allow for third term for any executive office holder. And by that I mean whether you're a local government, state governor, or the president of the country, local government chairman, that's what I meant. So it doesn't arise. But we've seen, because of the nature of human beings, sometimes they don't want to let go of an office. In fact, I was watching the net 2 days ago. I saw a situation in the Nigerian police force where somebody who had retired was coming to office and sitting on the chair he had vacated, claiming he had not finished his handover notes and he will continue. And then his subordinate officers were shouting at him, throwing abuses, as it were, at him, and insisting that he must leave. And the video ended at a point where he was an attempt was being made to forcefully remove him, from the office. Now, it is not even clear from such a scenario whether those who were trying to forcefully remove him were the good guys or he was a good guy. But one thing that is very certain is that from the moment his retirement came, he had no business coming to the office. If he had any handover note which he had not finished, he could stay in his house, complete it, and then send it over to them for whatever that is worth. It's the same situation in any life. So if that is the situation, and I say with a big if that is the situation playing out here in Rivers State, then it's very unfortunate. I don't want to believe that the former governor will still be holding on to, the delusion that he is still in charge. Now, it doesn't really matter whether you aided any person to become governor or you put somebody in office, assuming these are the scenarios. The fact is that whoever is a governor at a certain time will be the only person to exercise those powers. And let me warn that those powers are not limited to his ability to direct and manage all offices, public offices in the state. His ability are not limited to being the chief security officer of the state. His ability are not limited to him managing the whole assets of the state. Assets will include the buildings of this state. If we have aeroplanes, he should be the one in control of it. If we have vehicles, the governor will be the person in charge of all of them, and so on and so forth. There is no room for any person who has left office to hold on to any form of public property in any form whatsoever, under any guise whatsoever, under any pretenses whatsoever, under any convoluted, self-delusional or in fact self-trepified belief that he should be allowed to use those facilities. And let me warn also that if a sitting governor allows somebody who has left office in any position, not just as a governor, but in any other position, to hold on to public offices, facilities, assets, he is engaged in illegality. Yes.
I'm hearing this for the first time.
Yes, he is engaged
in this country.
Yes, it is engaged in illegality. In case you don't know, I can assure you that Rivers State has an asset management policy and manual, which tells us how we manage all our assets. And we also have a disposal. If the opposition party in the state, that's the APC, is saying these incidents that happened in Rivers State yesterday and the day before, including the explosion or is it burning of the State House of Assembly and even the, if you like, call it scenes of violence we saw on the street, which also seem to have the police involved one way or the other. If they are saying that it is caused by the former governor, then since they have those privy of that sort of information, they should go forward to give us more information. Then on the part of the executive governor presently in Rivers State, if he is accusing any group of persons or persons of having initiated this macabre situation, this distasteful, shameful, and despicable acts of instability, he should be bold enough to mention names and tell us who are the people behind it. However, this is not limited to the fact that these duties to inform the public properly, they are all statutory duties and constitutional duties. We as Rivers people, as stakeholders here, we need to know what's happening to our state. It's not a secret activity. It's even coming into the open. And if I understand clearly, efforts or attempts have been made to serve impeachment notices on the executive. Once there is a transition perfected, in this case, a new governor sworn in with all executive powers, remember, it is under full control. Now, if he has full control, if he's no longer keeping to the constitutional provisions of his office and thereby committing impeachable offenses, it is the duty of the House of Assembly to put that in a public view. It cannot be a secret process.
All right, thank you, sir. You know, in politics, there's this saying that in the godfatherism, whatever, know, in politics doesn't always end well. You know, in this case, to say like how the past governor actually, took to the heels of ensuring that Fubara becomes the governor. Now things are becoming, things are playing out. Is it okay to say that there's a proclivity, that anything hidden now will begin to play out?
I will not make that far-reaching commitment or comment on that, because the executive governor sitting now, that is His Excellency Sim Fubara, has not told us where he believes his crisis is coming from. If he had said so, then I will answer you immediately.
All right, let's.
Meaning that I don't know where it's coming from yet.
Okay, let's see. Let's see other views on this issue.
All right.
People seem to be running away from the Christmas that seemed to have come early from our governor. But let's get other views. There are several on this same issue.
All right, the SDP governorship candidate in the 2023 elections in Rivers State have joined in the outright condemnation of the ongoing political upheaval in Rivers State, particularly the ongoing threat to impeach the governor of Rivers State, Similai Fubara. The former lawmaker, in a statement reacting to the fireworks ongoing in the state, Senator Abe said, in as much as I have chosen to remain silent on the political issues in Rivers State, let me make four simple statements. First, as seen in trending videos in the media space, the direct gunshots and tear gassing on the person of the governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Similai Fubara, who is the chief security officer of the state, was wrong. This is beyond politics, and I publicly condemn it. Secondly, as a former minority leader of the Rivers State House of Assembly, I am particularly saddened by the destruction of our beloved House of Parliament, and a valuable state asset. This is unacceptable. Thirdly, I believe that in the interest of the state, the Nigerian police needs to have a deeper conversation with the governor, who is the current chief security officer and the only Rivers man that currently enjoys constitutional immunity. Fourthly, Abe said there can be only one governor at a time. So whatever our political differences, we must look for ways to resolve them without jeopardizing the peace and security of our fellow citizens. This is actually well marshaled out. It's not as if these things are not known, but we still wonder where this whole thing is coming from, and we really, I leave that to you to react.
Okay, well, what Senator Magnus Abe said is born out of his own experiences as a former legislator, so he's well positioned to know how the intrigues, the tricks, and the, if you like, call it conflagrations often happen in houses of parliament, of which he had been a member twice, actually, formerly in Rivers State as a legislator, and later at the uppermost chamber of parliament in this country, that's the Senate. Having said so, I have to correct one of the things he said. It is not only the executive governor that enjoys immunity in the state. The deputy governor, Professor Odu, yes, Ngozi Odu, also enjoys immunity. And needless to say, if for any reason a governor is no longer in office, it is the deputy that will take over. That is a constitutional provision. If you try anything other than that, that will be a coup, because that is it. However, let's go back to the fact that what Magnus has said aligns with what I have just said, that if you want to do anything against any public office holder, in this case the executive, the governor of the state, you must do it constitutionally. If there are impeachable offenses, it must be disclosed to the public. The House of Assembly cannot have the liberty to wake up at any time they feel like and just carry out actions. Now, if they have been doing it or they've informed the public prior to this, let them also remind us that, look, we had said that this man was involved in impeachable offenses. Basically, if you want to make the public to have sympathy for a governor they may not have had sympathy for, and you continue to do things that are unconstitutional against him, then you will find out that even those who were opposed to him being in office, such as the SDP governorship candidate, will begin to have sympathy because we're all human beings. An injustice to one is an injustice to all. Thank you.
now that you have brought it to this point, I was wondering, Senator Abe said a very critical point, there can only be one governor.
Exactly.
Now I'm referring back to Darlington Wujo saying Wike's term ambition.
Yes.
Now if we put all of these together as a whole, let's take a rundown of what has played out. Because when you say that Wike's third-term ambition, and Abe is saying, oh, we're still coming to Chief Edwin Clark, and Abe is saying there can only be one governor. A quick rundown. In less than 6 or 12 hours, let's not even say 24 hours, Governor Simlaye Fubara has sacked the Speaker of the House of Assembly, installed another one with a silver mace, if you may. I would like you to react to that much later. Number 2, he has sacked the Chief of Staff, the implantation from the former governor. He has also dissolved his cabinet, from what we learned. Majority of them are implantation of the former governor. He has also sacked the 23 local governments, majority of whom are implantation of the former governor, and of course the chief judge of the state. All of these boomed, as in back to back, without any hesitation. Could there be some sort of truth? There may be things that we are not aware in the secret. Why do you think the governor will take such steps without looking back? Remember, majority of all of this are implantation of Governor Wike, former governor.
Well, in theory, you may say so, but we don't still have proof that they are his implantations, as it were. You might, I might concede that the chief judge was appointed in a process when the former governor was fully in charge. But anything political, it's usually presumed that these people are true representatives of the people until they prove themselves otherwise. So if they are loyalists of the former governor, yeah, it is very possible. Now, on whether this has a, you say, look, Vivian, let's call a spade as a spade. If we can, who are, if you like, call it bystanders to this issue, we don't have inner information. We can have sympathy for the fact that there shouldn't be injustice done to any person. Not necessarily because you may like the person, but because you know an injustice to one person is an injustice to all. How come the persons who are directly affected are, in this case, with all due respect, the governor of the state? He should be bold enough to say who are the people troubling him. Now, once that is settled, you know, we must be very careful. You cannot make an allegation or a conclusion on anything somebody is doing except that person who is privy to that inner information confirms it to you. What if tomorrow they say, oh, no, it wasn't even from the former governor, it was from somebody else? It will look very funny and stupid. So I am saying that if it is from him, I will be blunt to say my opinion. But until you are bold enough to mention actual names and actors. As for the appointments you talked about, of course the governor has the right to do away with his main political appointees, such as his cabinet, the chief of staff, and all that. It doesn't matter who brought it.
Let's talk about the chief of staff.
I'm not talking about the chief judge now, because that is somewhat a legal constitutional matter, which I would believe that he may have gone through it before he took that decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've seen some of such actions play out in Rivers State before now.
Yes.
But just a quick one. Chief Emeka Nwoke was the chief of staff to the former governor.
Yes.
So because the issue is that implantation of the Governor Wike has been pulled out. That's a major power move that Governor Fubara has made.
Yeah.
Now, if that was not an implantation, so to say, why are they all removed back to back? And these are people who are supposedly working against him. If you may, is there no other person that is qualified that Fubara himself can appoint to be the chief of staff? Why continue with the
first and foremost, I have not even said they are not implantations. I'm just saying they need to be confirmed as implantation. Yes.
All right.
Now, I haven't said so. Of course, does a former chief of staff have 3 heads? Anybody can be removed from his office if you are holding an appointment. Does he have 3 heads? I mean, you can appoint any person in India. You don't even need a degree. With a primary school certificate, you can be appointed.
No, the person can read and write.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so you don't even need a primary school certificate.
Yeah,
if you have the ability to read and write, even from home.
Yeah, there's something they call guild and something.
No, city and guild is higher than that.
No, we agree, but I don't know. We didn't have that degree.
No, it's higher than that.
But they said
it's a certificate is higher than that. But I think what you do is to play on the safe side. Say primary school or pre-primary school or its equivalent.
Or ability to read and write.
Yes.
All right, everyone.
So
was in Rivers State, but Chief Edwin Clark seemed to be taking it a notch higher. He said, Chief Edwin Clark, elder statesman and leader of the Niger Delta Forum, says the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Ezewoye Sunwike, is the mastermind of the plot to impeach Rivers State Governor Sir Siminalayi Fubara. Chief Clark, in a statement on Monday, said, I have been greatly disturbed by the reported developments in Rivers State. In the last 24 hours, I have been reliably informed that there is a plot to unlawfully remove the governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Siminalayi Fubara, who has spent only about 5 months in office. Chief Clark said, I understand the sad episode is being orchestrated by the immediate past governor of Rivers State and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Yesowike, and that the intention is to remove the governor, force his deputy, President Goziodu, to resign, and install the Speaker of the House of Assembly, another Ikwere person, as the governor of the state. Chief Clark said, let me warn strongly, we won't allow that to happen. President Bola Tinubu must call Yesowike and the security agencies in Rivers State to order to avert any untold crisis in Rivers State. Is that a threat? Well, we'll find out tomorrow. The consequences, he said, would be there for the stability of the region and the national economy. What has Governor Fubara done wrong, refusing to be further remote controlled? Mr. Yesowike was governor for 8 years. Nobody hassled him. He governed Rivers State like an emperor. He did not show any iota of respect and regard to anyone, not even those who imposed him on Rivers people in 2015. I don't know who he's referring to, by the way, but is by Edwin Clark threatening someone somewhere to say...
Nobody has a monopoly of violence. That's what he's saying. Nobody.
Sorry.
Nobody.
I was just trying to find
I've just said it. Nobody. So now, I think whoever is using untoward means to stalk crisis in Rivers should be well informed wherever he or she is that nobody has a monopoly of violence. Even for the people...
But you're not joining to threaten anyone, right?
Sorry?
You're not joining to threaten anyone.
Me? No, I'm not. I'm just saying, I'm interpreting what Chief Edwin Clark said. I am saying that nobody has a monopoly of violence. What has happened so far indicates that there is a plot or there have been attempts to use violence. Nobody has a monopoly of violence. Nobody, I'm saying it live on TV, nobody has a monopoly of violence. So whatever you are doing, always be careful to make sure that you do not employ violence. I condemn violence in all its form. And the other statesman is telling us that if you push people to the wall, no matter how much their peaceful disposition, they might be forced to fight back. And let me warn, constitutionally, legally, jurisprudentially, you are allowed to fight back if there is an attempt to unwittingly take away your rights, take away your properties, take away your commonwealth without due process. That is why it is not for nothing that under our criminal laws, if a felon trespasses onto your property or comes to in an attempt to harm you, you can, in the process of defending that property, harm that felon, and if need be, kill him. Just as if a felon who has committed an offense that can be punishable by about a decade of imprisonment, years of imprisonment or more, is escaping, he or she can be, confronted, and if need be, failed in that process. So it's simple language. He was speaking in parables because he's an elder. I'm talking about Chief Edwin Clark, and it should be clear. Listen. Let's get it clear. This idea of one or two persons getting this false assumption that they know they are the only people who know things about violence is totally false. False and false. It's an insult to the collective intelligence of Rivers people that any group of person or persons or person would think that I can do anything by strong arm tactics, and by that people will not react. Of course, people will react if they want to. Maybe that is what is playing out in Rivers State. Maybe.
All right. We're still really trying to get this clear as much as possible.
Yes.
Now, there is a statement that actually clearly states that the incumbent governor doesn't want to be remote controlled anymore.
Yes.
Yes. Is this a bit traceable to what is happening? Could this actually definitely point at something?
I don't know. Until the governor is bold enough to tell us and pinpoint from, because he has more information than you than all of us seated here, because he receives intelligence information.
So
until he tells us who is involved in his travels, we cannot tell who is remote controlling him or not. Okay. But one thing is certain: a governor, when he's in office, is in charge. You can't speculate. We are not market women. You can't speculate. If something is happening to him, it's already in the public domain. If he is protecting the image of the person or persons who are involved, that is his own lookout. But if he wants to come clean with the Rivers people, he wants them to be involved, and have the full facts, he will tell us. He will make even a broadcast, a state broadcast, and tell us what is going on. At that point, we can then zero our comments on a specific person.
All right. Now, Edwin Clark was a one-time commissioner, a minister, if you may, in today's world. And then he has also maintained his position as an elder statesman. So I'll bet there must be some information he may have too that we don't have, because his statement was very direct.
Yes.
This is the person responsible for the plot to impeach the governor. Yeah. However, the moves made by the governor, a lot of people are excited. Hey, we now know we have a governor. We thought he was a boy and all of that, but now he has shown he's a governor. The situation with Rivers State House of Assembly, first the rumor, okay? Oh, he's about to be impeached, and the Edison Ahie, the majority leader, was going to be removed as majority. That was a rumor. And then an Ijaw group were planning a protest Monday morning to the assembly, only for us to, just before bed, Sunday night, 9:45 p.m., boom, the assembly has been set ablaze, has been raised down. Interestingly, at the break of dawn, the supposed Speaker of the House was Martin Amewule, was seen, no member was seen, no ayes or nays have it and all of that, removing Edison Ahie as the majority leader. And then subsequently, an impeachment notice was sent to the governor. We are in this state, even in recent time, we've seen what is playing out, at least in those states, where what legal experts like yourself have said this is due process of impeachment.
Yeah.
You are saying we don't even know what is in the impeachment notice. We have not seen, we don't know what it is and all of that. What exactly, is it lack of experience for these lawmakers? Is it disregard for the Rivers people in total? Or is it what audacity, or what do you think could be the reason why they would have to go through this process and now have the assembly in the state that it is, physically speaking, I mean the structure?
Well, still, because I have experience, and by God's grace I also have knowledge on these matters, it is still premature. Still
let's not be short memory. That hasn't gone away. It's still in my memory. If it's no longer in you people's memory, it's very much in my memory. So it means that you cannot totally rule out anything in this sort of situation. Meaning that whether they have justification or non-justification can only be fully determined when the facts are in the open. Meaning also that you will be behaving like a novice to conclude because we don't have all the facts. What if they come out with serious allegations that are provable? What happens? We'll come and have this program again. Where we say we are sorry, we were not aware of those facts.
What we're doing is analyzing issues.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In the news. Like I said, we had the rumor of impeachment. Before bedtime Sunday, the assembly has been set ablaze.
Yes.
At the break of dawn, we saw a video clip where Edison is being, by the then speaker, is being removed.
He was the majority leader.
No, the speaker.
Okay, the then speaker was presided, yes.
Yeah, presided. We didn't see anyone. We saw news media microphones, and we didn't see anyone. It was a short clip that was circulated, and he's being removed, and all of that. That is the first thing that played out. And then we learned about it. Then the governor went to the assembly, and we saw water and tear gas being thrown at him, even though he was there. We don't know what all of these are the things that are in the physical, for everyone to look at. What do you okay? What is the process of impeaching a person, a governor, and someone with immunity? Because see, what is then the process of impeaching?
Let me start by saying that the process of impeachment is constitutional. It must be transparent.
Okay,
must
so put
be
us
transparent.
through. Take us through that.
Meaning that when you want to impeach somebody, the allegations or the impeachable offenses for which he is alleged to have been committed must be raised and debated on the floor of the House.
Okay.
If the vote is carried, then a letter will emanate from the House through the Speaker to the public officer. Let's not forget, it's not only the governor that can be impeached, the deputy governor can be impeached. Impeachment occurs to the two topmost executives. Now, when you send that letter, he or she will be expected to respond. Now, when he or she responds, then there will be a debate of that response on the House. It is the outcome that will make the House decide whether this response has been satisfactory or not. If not satisfactory, the House will then write to that person to indicate that, look, we are planning to do X, Y, Z to you. And of course, attached to it will be the so-called impeachment notice. Please, at this point, please note that an aspect of these processes must pass through the judiciary, because when the committee to actually investigate, of course, depending on the responses, whether it's satisfactory is satisfactory or not, is being set up. It will be set up under the auspices of the Office of the Chief Judge.
Okay, let me quickly bring this to bear here, because the next issue we're going to talk about is the Ondo State, about the impeachment process of the Deputy Governor.
Yeah.
So now,
but there must be clear impeachable offenses.
Good. This is a plot by the former governor to do ABCD and to put Martin and Mayhule
as the governor
and all of that. Now, we know in all
came, or was there a suspension of the Chief Judge?
What we read in the news is that he's been removed as the Chief Judge. Now that we don't, at the time of filing this report, we don't have a new person that's been named as the Chief Judge yet. You
see, look, I'm a professor of law, by God's grace also very vast in related disciplines, so I'm very careful what I say. What if the Chief Judge committed an offense for which he's being punished?
We are talking about what happened in the news.
No, listen, Vivian, we are not market people. We must talk very intelligently. What if there is a pending issue which coincides with this? That's why I say you must come out and speak to us transparently. When you speak to us transparently, then we can reach conclusions intelligently. Without that, these are all speculations. So, but to settle the issue of whether if a substantive Chief Judge is not there, does it stop processes or not? No, it doesn't. There's a settled order of hierarchy in our judiciary. I dare say in every organ of government. So it doesn't. Just as we know when presidents in this country go on some of their vacations abroad, especially the medical vacation, authority reverts to number 2, which is the vice president. So it doesn't, the idea of say you announce him or her does not even arise because of a simple reason that it is very, very clear that this person is in the office. So yes, processes will still go. If they, I mean, let's be honest, if something happened to a public officer in an office and he or she is no more on planet Earth, will the office cease to function? There is always a deputy, and there is a deputy
so
to the chief.
another angle to that is
Yeah.
we now have supposedly to speak. Everybody, our chief judge is right now in this state, and if you take it that further to the issue of maize, like I told you,
Yeah.
We know
What is wrong with the maize?
The one they use in installing the Edison is a silver maize, and so long as there is a maize, or is there no maize?
I do not know or do not think seriously about colors of maize. But I know you cannot go to the market, buy a maize and use it. There is just one authentic maize of the House of Assembly. But anyway, beyond even the drama of the maize, we've seen this happen before where somebody in the National Assembly ran with a maize to his village so that it could not be used.
From did he run to his village?
Yes,
he took
we
it away. That's the Senator Omar Agege. He took it away.
Before Omar Agege, an incident had happened.
Okay.
In the era of the Chuba. Sign of intelligence and high level of statesmanship and wisdom to say, yes, you may be wrong. We do it a lot with the female folk. They are often wrong, but we say, okay, sorry. That does not necessarily mean the man is wrong. It's to make sure that there is peace. So anybody imputing too much meaning into an apology, instead of respecting the fact that that apology is actually an indication of peace, a sign of stretching out the olive branch, it's an ignorant and illiterate fellow. So I do not agree that just because he apologized, his opposition to the impeachment processes in Ondo State weakened.
All right, we will come
He's just
back.
trying to be a wise
We'll
person.
take a short break.
There's nothing wrong with apologies. You should not be ashamed of.
We'll come back to you all after the break.
Yeah.
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Access to our money we put in the bank. The POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth, the oppressors and the oppressed. And in between are the cowards and the hypocrites. Which are you?
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome.
What Nigerians need now is not about the Tonte. Who can come and salvage us from where we are?
Representing people. Mr. President, my people are under siege.
I will place economic stability and confidence.
To condemn this act and call for the immediate release of this minister in the Temple of Justice.
Access to our money we put in the bank. The POS operator, she said 3,000 naira is 1,000 to collect 3,000 naira. Where are we heading to?
I've always said there are two sets of people on earth.
All right, welcome back to 18 Open Conversation, everyone. Prof, this issue of impeachment, like I said, we're just talking about the issues in Rivers State.
Yeah.
We've gone over to Ondo State, and we're looking at it side by side to say, this is where we are. The day the deputy governor apologized, the governor's spokesperson came out to say, hey, go and answer to the assembly. There is no point apologizing. And we're learning today that it was the governor whom he's speaking for anyway.
Of course he's speaking for the governor.
Good. Now, taking this back to the assembly who says we are still going to go ahead with the impeachment process. You see, like you said, apology doesn't make you weak. Rather, it shows that you're a statesman. You are a more mature person.
Yes.
Granted. However, there is a lingering factor. Remember, the APC National had to set up a committee to look into this matter. Why the deputy governor insisted he is going with the court. But for some reason, the court, there was no hearing, which now elapsed the 14 days. The chief judge said if it elapses and the court didn't say anything, he can now set up the 7-man panel, which, like you said, is part of the process of impeachment. However, there is a document that the disposal of the deputy governor that contained 14 allegedly gross misconducts as alleged by the assembly that he committed.
Yeah.
Beyond apology, shouldn't he be seen responding to that in the name of being a statesman?
Well, I don't want to believe that he has not responded to allegations against him, except if it was done, or those things were just given to him before, after the expiration of the supposed...
he had it before then.
Okay. Yeah, he could decide not to respond because he had already taken the matter to court.
But he has apologized too.
Yes, it doesn't still mean that he has acceded to any of those things. I think the apology is a way of saying...
He apologized to the governor and Ondo State people.
Yes, that we want peace. And please, let me also use this opportunity to say that sometimes bad lawyering, very bad lawyering, leads to people taking actions in course of matters that have no effect or are meaningless or does not solve problems. We said it during the elections and we are saying it again here. I don't understand if your matter is already in court. I don't understand why you would go to make an apology. You should have waited for that to play itself out. If for any reason the court did not sit, then you should have found a way, legally speaking, to contest that situation and seek an order of a higher court to compare that court to hear your matter, or you take it elsewhere. Meaning that it would have still stopped the process of the chief judge constituting ETC, any body or bodies, to move any step further because the matter had not been dispassionately dealt with. That's my view. That's the way it should have been. I mean, it will look to me that the supposed apology by the deputy governor in Ondo State was premature. And most times these are things done by bad lawyering. And even this idea of people believing that, okay, if I just apologize, they would accept it and the matter will end. I don't think that it's in every situation you merely apologize, especially if the matter is still in court. If you want to apologize, then all parties must be on the same board. I'm not taking anything away from the apology. But I'm saying if you want to apologize, everybody should be on the board to say, okay, without prejudice to what's happening in the legislature in this thing, let's sit down and then face to face or through a letter you say, I have apologized over any of this. And in any case, if it's an apology done in confidence, they are not even supposed to disclose the contents.
He apologized for the press.
My point, I'm saying this for the benefit of the viewers. It is a strong principle, it's a strong quality that whether you are right or wrong in the process, you apologize for the interest of peace. It shouldn't be an issue of pride. So I respect the deputy governor.
Yeah, but should he also answer to the allegations against him?
No, I think legally speaking, now because of what you said, assuming that what you said is totally correct, that the matter has not been dispassionately examined, I am saying that the proper legal step that should have been taken would have been to still go higher or go elsewhere to ensure that that matter was first treated before you talk about response to anything, because he cannot respond while the matter is still sub judice.
All right, thank you very much. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest news outside of Rivers State and Southwest.
Rivers State is trending now.
Yeah, and that's Atiku's press briefing.
Okay.
So the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate in the February 25th, 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, while addressing a press conference in Abuja on Monday on the outcome of the Supreme Court verdict, dismissed his appeal for lacking in merit and affirmed the victory of President Bola Tinubu. Atiku said, someone asked me what I would do if I lost my election petition appeal at the Supreme Court. In response, I said that as long as Nigeria wins, the struggle would be worth the while. He also, speaking for the article, said if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and perjury, if the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, implies by its judgment that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria has lost and the country is doomed irrespective of who occupies the presidential seat. He further said, while speaking on implications of the presidential election petition court and Supreme Court judgment, Atiku said, I leave Nigerians and the world to decide what to make of the Supreme Court's unfortunate decision, but here's my take, the judgment of the presidential election petition court and the Supreme Court have very far-reaching, grave implications, including the following. Now let's bring you an excerpt from that press briefing.
What would I do if I lost my election petition appeal at the Supreme Court? In response, I said that as long as Nigeria wins, the struggle would have been worth the while. By that, I meant that the bigger loss would not be mine, but Nigeria's, if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and perjury as it has done. If the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, implies by its judgment that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria has lost. And the country is doomed irrespective of who occupies the presidential seat. If the Supreme Court decides that the electoral umpire, INEC, can tell the public one thing and then do something else in order to reach a corruptly predetermined outcome, then there is really no hope for the country's democracy and electoral process. Obviously, the consequences of those decisions for the country will not end at the expiration of the current government. They will last for decades. I am absolutely sure that history will vindicate me. At the current historic moment, the easier option for me would have been to fall off and retreat after the mandate banditry perpetrated by the APC and INEC. But I went to the Nigerian courts to seek redress. I even went to an American court to help with unraveling what our state institutions charged with such responsibilities were unwilling or unable to do, including unraveling the qualifying academic records of the person sworn in as our president, and by implication, hopefully, who he really is. I offered that evidence, procured with the assistance of the American court to our Supreme Court, to help it do justice in this case. I give this background to underscore that what we are currently dealing with is bigger than 1 or 2 presidential elections, and is certainly bigger than Atiku Abubakar. It is not about me. It is about our country, Nigeria, and your future. It is about the kind of society we want to live for the next generation, and what kind of example we want to set for our children and their children. It is about the reputation of Nigeria and Nigerians in the eyes of the world. We showed incontrovertible evidence that Bola Tinubu was not qualified to contest the presidential election because he forged the qualifying academic certificate which he submitted to INEC. In fact, a simple check on Tinubu's past records in its possession would have shown INEC that Tinubu broke the law and should not have been allowed to contest the election in the first place. We showed irrefutable evidence of gross irregularities, violence, and manipulations during the elections. We showed incontrovertible evidence that INEC violated the Electoral Act and deliberately sabotaged its own publicly announced processes and procedures in order to illegally declare Tinubu elected. The position of the Supreme Court, even though final, leaves so much unanswered.
Now, let's talk about, we've not had Obi's speech, but at least we've had Atiku's speech. If the Supreme Court should allow this, that they have basically supporting identity thefts, forgery, and there's something else he said. Looking back at the Supreme Court position on this, which says this came late, prior to that, 26th of October, the Supreme Court, Justice Agin particularly, who learned in the news, was saying there are two letters from Chicago State University, one for and one against. So which one should we use? And we're asking, as a judge, you ought to say, this, make a demand or remove this, and not to start asking the petitioners, for instance, or the defendant, this, which one should we use? Then the next day they came up with this ruling and basically didn't consign themselves with the revelations coming from Chicago State University. Now, this is Atiku's position. What do you think we should be making of this?
Well, first, just as I said, as far back as May, as I've said much earlier, in February, I said that the laws in Nigeria were such that, having declared a candidate, in this case, the president, sitting president, that the chances of him winning at the tribunal was almost 100% or 100%. And that even when the tribunal did give their verdict, I still emphasize that he was more likely to get the verdict at the Supreme Court. So there is no surprise for me in all this. Please, let me say it again. The Atiku Abubakar is not a lawyer, so he doesn't understand how the legal system works in this country. I don't want to say some of the things I said earlier, but I think that in future, he should research well when choosing his legal team. Ditto for Peter Obi, so that people don't start assuming that just because you are a legal practitioner, you are looking at all aspects of the matter. There are many aspects. Needless to say, the certificate issue he's talking about were issues that they should have done much earlier, did not do, and then we are counting on the discretion of the Supreme Court to put it into evidence, for which the Supreme Court exercised their discretion and decided not to put it into evidence. These are issues that, if I dare say, should have been even pre-election matters, even they should have been pre-election, not even pre-election petition. Because there are two different things. Pre-election means you could have settled all these things before even we had the election, so that we would have taken steps to know who is qualified or who is not qualified, to contest elections in this country. However, I also hear him talk too much about academic qualifications. I don't understand if the former Vice President Atiku understands that the Nigerian Constitution does not require degrees from anybody.
As it is in the
It is amazing to me when I see politicians carrying degrees up and down and saying they went to this school. This Constitution is talking about, I think, is it primary school certificate or its equivalent? And here you are talking about big degrees. Okay, so are you? Is it trying to tell us that the president does not have the equivalent of primary or its equivalent?
You see, that's the crux of the matter here. The president, having been an elected official in Nigeria for more than 2 times, beyond being a governor, he was also one time a senator. Should know better that he doesn't need this Chicago State University to no, but
in all these elections, sorry to interrupt, in all these offices, his certificates have always sailed through. That's why he was able to contest and stay.
No, we're saying the same thing. But right now, you understand? So 1999 is not 2003.
No, sorry, let me also educate you on that. Once a matter, sorry, let me finish.
Can I finish?
I will not allow you to finish because
but I'm the host.
Okay, you can speak. You can speak for only that.
So now, you had, in 1999, we didn't have the level of access to information we had now in terms of the internet and the key players. Even if there was a Gani Fayemi then, he didn't have access to do certain things that he would have had if in 2023. Now, you used a certificate in 1999, you sailed through. You became a senator with that same certifications, it sailed through. And in 2023, you had an issue with it in 1999. You didn't bother to say, okay, because Atiku is saying this because there is a university certification linked to Chicago State University that the position has been carried out in the US, which the president presented. So when you talk about Atiku, talking about issue of certificate, that's the point. That's
no, Atiku is ignorant. He's legally ignorant. He doesn't understand. Look, let me explain to you. There is a settled hierarchy of courts in Nigeria, and there is an appellate system that is equally settled. There is no room for leapfrogging. The legal expression is leapfrogging, not allowed in our legal system. In 1999, just to put you through, these issues came up and it was decided, meaning that once a court, an appellate court, decides on a matter, I dare say if in this case it is the highest court, decides on a matter, it is an issue of res judicata per rem judicatum. That's the Latin doctrine, the legal maxim that guides the situation, meaning that you can no longer bring it up. I was even alarmed when I heard some of these issues being brought up again. You can't. But more seriously, now if that person submits an additional certificate, let's assume that this is an additional certificate this time around, and maybe it was not even the ones, if you like call it, he presented the other time. Then you have to bear in mind that the legal navigation you will use must place emphasis on aspects of it. Look, Mr. Atiku is talking as if there have never been any qualification that say true for this sitting president. That's not true. You just said it that he has held public offices. You must understand that the legal navigation that will be used is not the emphasis on the fact that he got an additional qualification that is not right. That's not the emphasis. And even the Chicago State University, there were conflicting signals from them. On one hand, they say he graduated from their school. Then, there was also the issue of the qualification he used, the qualifying certificates he used to gain that admission. All these are issues that should have even been dealt with much earlier, before even the election, or even in course of the election, before it came to a Supreme Court. It's a Supreme Court issue and it's their discretion. They did the right thing in deciding on whether they wanted to allow it or not to allow it. It was their discretion.
Okay, so let's really wrap this up from this angle. Atiku has made his position known. Whether the Supreme Court will decide to say forgery is now allowed in Nigeria and all of that, he has a right to make his position, take a position. We don't know what this position is going to be. But let's look, you just made a very critical factor, which is all of these have been in public domain, should have been pursued before the election.
Long before
so
now.
as we look towards 2027, because some persons are already campaigning for the president, are planning how they are going to. The former governor of Rivers State said that he said, those, if you think you got 50 votes, you know, to go 2,000, you're not even going to get 20 votes in 2027. He's planning with the APC Rivers State how to ensure the president wins 2027 election. Now, for everyone who have one or two angst against the process that led to the Supreme Court judgment of Supreme Court, especially with the President Tinubu's, whether the narcotic forfeiture for $60,000 or the certificate issue, what are his chances of becoming Nigeria's president, contesting in 2027 and winning with all of this?
His chances are very bright, very, very bright. Don't forget the incumbent factor in Nigeria. We've only had one situation where an incumbent president was defeated in an election. So that speaks for itself. So he has about 99% chance of being returned. But that is not the problem. I really don't care who is president. If you like, bring a president from the deepest forests of Nigeria. It doesn't bother me. I want service delivery. Now, what perhaps, in my opinion, should be the proper question is, what should we do to avert rigging and the nuances, including, please, ma, including the improper qualifications that people sometimes say through under our legal system, so that in 2027 we will have a top-notch election that is devoid of fraud.
Okay,
I have said it. Please allow me to say that.
You will.
Yes, okay.
We don't have all the time. Let's not dwell on INEX and other electoral issues. Let's dwell on the issue of the president's certification, because it's not just about him now. It's also the outcome of this before the international community.
I am saying that he will. I have answered that question. Yes,
so,
go.
You were saying that his chances of winning election, even with all of this, is it if Atiku and whoever wants to pursue this case for that
you can't pursue it. It's been settled by the Supreme Court. It's right to the Qatar. You can't pursue it. What case are you pursuing?
Pursuing it now.
Yes.
Towards 2027.
You can't pursue it again. It's settled. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's settled.
For the rest of eternity. That he has proper qualifications.
Is that what the Supreme Court
Yes, that's
said?
the meaning of it. The Supreme Court decision cannot be questioned. That's what I'm trying to educate you.
That's what the Supreme Court said.
That is what it is. That is the law. A matter that is decided by the Supreme Court cannot be questioned again, ever on this planet. That's the position. And that's why I'm saying, amend the Electoral Act. You want to short me, but I will say it. Amend the Electoral Act. Make sure Nigeria has electronic voting so that anybody can win an election and rigging will be a thing of the past. If you don't amend the Electoral Act and you don't enforce total electronic voting, and you don't put in those facilities well in place before the 2027, and you are still talking grammar here about you want to go to court, is it that Nigerians are retarded or what? Can't they understand that it's not going to work again in 2027? The matter is decided by the Supreme Court. That's the end of that matter.
Okay, so now, but you think that if Nigerians should have electronic voting,
yes,
that it would work?
Yes, it will work 100%. It will work 100%.
Didn't the Electoral Act recognize electronic voting?
No, sorry, Vivian, let's not distort facts here. There was no electoral voting. I've told you in earlier programs here. I said the 2022 Electoral Act did not mention beaver in one line.
No, sorry, Prof.
Yes.
We are not talking about beavers.
Yes.
We're talking about electronic voting.
Please listen. In the 2022 Electoral Act, gave an option of electronic or manual, which the Electoral Commission opted to use their manual interferences. I am saying, please listen, I am saying that in 2027 going forward, you must have a wholesome amendment of the Electoral Act to give no room for any manual manipulation or interference by INEC. E.g., when I send money to bestseller, it is a fully electronic, online, internet-driven activity. That is the sort of voting I'm talking about. So that no INEC person, even if he's a witch, can go in the air and stop my ballot from being casted. That's the point.
Okay, so now, for you, in the 2022 Electoral Act, it said electronic or manual.
Yes, and
so
the INEC
your point now is that manual should be
completely removed. If you don't do that, you will have the discussion again in 2027. You have it in 2031, and you keep repeating yourself.
So somehow you believe that with electronic voting,
yes,
there will be no manipulation of the
process.
None,
zero.
Can you in 1 minute maybe explain how some governors got into power through the use of the same beavers as an electronic means, and for the presidential it didn't work?
Please, let us be honest.
Yeah,
let us be honest. No, sorry, Vivian. It's either you want to be politically correct or you want to be brutally honest. I choose to be brutally honest.
Okay.
There were no free and fair elections across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Sorry. You know it and I know it.
Sorry.
That's the truth.
All right. Sorry.
That people who claim they were elected doesn't mean that most of the elections were free and fair.
Okay, because the challenge we had was how some governors got into
power. Because you have bad lawyers in the opposition parties. They didn't read the Electoral Act. With all due respect to them. They didn't. If they read the Electoral Act, they would have seen that there was enough room for manipulation. I am now saying that make it watertight. Make it impossible. Let me give you an example. In the Nigerian Bar Association, we have a provision where you can electronically vote from home, from anywhere you are, in an NBA election. You know why? Because in the past, there were allegations of electoral rigging and so what in NBA. Today, nobody can make that cry again. That's my position. Let's think forward, let's think straight, and let's think technology. And do away with all this rubbish in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you so much. It's been so interesting having you here. And you've given it...
Prof, you were sounding like you're on blowout, but you're actually in open conversation.
I was saying. You were really, taking serious blows and blowing out like we did there.
I hope they don't find in Rivers State House of Assembly, because I don't know how they are going to manage.
And that's their business.
All right.
And most of them